everyone, it's Anne Manera, and welcome to another Color Along from Color Along Volume 19. And we are coloring today, shading with colored pencils. And I'm going to be using Castle Art Seascapes colored pencils. It's a soft touch colored pencil as it's described. We're coloring this page in the Color Along coloring book, And these are a softer pencil and like a soft core. It's got a set of 24 pencils. So let's talk about shading. So when we talk about shading with colored pencils, it's all about creating a gradation of color. It's all about creating from lights to darks, or darks to light. So the best way to describe this to you is to just jump in and let's just do it. Let's start out with the door. And I'm going to give this door a brown color. So this one is actually called Sepia. So I'm going to start out on the bottom part of the door. And I am going to use a heavier pressure on the bottom part of the door. Plus, I'm going to use a heavier pressure around the hinges of the door. So see in this section right here? This page that we're coloring today can also be found in my book, Home Sweet Home. And I'll leave a link to that book in the comments. So see how this kind of has a darker or heavier pressure here. And as I'm moving up, I'm lightening. So I am pressing harder. And then as I move up to the top of the door, I have lightened. Now I'm going to take this gold color, which is called Naples Yellow. And I'm going to add some of this Naples Yellow on the lighter section of the brown door. So kind of in the middle there. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a glow. And then I am going to use the same Naples Yellow for the windows. I do have a piece of paper behind here because I don't want the pressure of my pencil to cause streaks on my next page. So I do have that. So here's my yellow. This means that I guess people are home. The lights are on. And here we are, right? I always wonder if I should put two little eyeballs peeking through the window. Or if that would be creepy. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. I'm going to use the sepia color also to do a heavy pressure here. And then I'm going to lighten as I go towards the right. Heavy pressure, go towards the right. These have a good a good point on them also. A good sharp pencil. Now, the house, when I color a house like this, I always like it to be kind of like a, a crazy color. So for this one, I'm going to use Venetian red. And I am going to color this bottom section here. Heavy pressure on the bottom and light. So it's got that shadow. It's got that shading where, where the light don't shine, Where you're not going to get the light, that's where the darker part would be. But you can kind of make that up as you're going. Because it's coloring. You can do whatever you want. You don't need to have rules. There are no rules in coloring. So see how each section has a lot of different gradation of color, and you can learn more about shading. I have a coloring handbook. I'll leave a link to it in the comments. You can learn more about shading through that type of book. Practice pages. Now, I'm not worried about going on top of these lines, and I'm really trying not to pivot my page, to be honest with you, because I want it to just kind of be like different gradations of color. There we go. Now, what do I want to add on top of that? I think I'll add this orange color, which is called cadmium orange. I think I'm going to add that kind of in the, just overall, just kind of give it a little bit of a color. And what ends up happening when you do this, it's like magic how the color appears in the areas that are white. See how that's happening? So it almost has a little bit of a glow. There we go. All right, now we need to trim our windows, right? We need to get them, definitely give them a trim. Let's be funky. Oh, I forgot to give this guy a this one right here. Maybe the lights are off in this one. Forgot about that. Whew. This one is called Ultramarine Violet, and I'm going to give it a darker color on the in-between things here, on these little horizontal lines. It'll be my trim, because I like the orange color, or the orangey color with the blue. And for this one, I'm using a heavier pressure. I'm not worried about those, about that shading for these at all. And I think that what people get frustrated with when they're coloring and they're trying to use use shading as a technique is that they're just not used to it, and they're not, maybe, I guess the more you color and the more you get comfortable with that pencil in your hand, I just have to pivot this a little bit, I'm sorry. The more you get used to it with it in your hand, then the better you'll become, and the more, I guess you're just more comfortable with it. Here is sepia. I don't know why I forgot this window. Maybe I just don't like that window. This was a fun book to draw, by the way. All right, so we've got all of that happening there, okay? Now, this one is called Alizarin Crimson. And of course, we can't not use the color these bricks with this alizarin crimson, right? So I'm just kind of using a heavier pressure on the edge and as I'm moving up. But I'm also coloring each individual brick, each individual area or shape. There we go. And on the top also, so each individual, there we go. And now we've got that chimney up there, but I'm not totally convinced that the chimney should be red. Some chimneys around my neighborhood are not red. How about you? I'm going to use this burnt sienna color. So that's a good shadow, a good shade right there. We've got Payne's Gray. This is always a great color with the when you're painting. So I'm going to color this step here with Payne's Gray. And this part, the face of it is going to be a little bit darker. And then this is going to be darker. Now this is right here is going to cause a little bit of shading too, because we've got the dark step. Now the top part of it, we're going to color with a lighter pressure. So it looks a little bit more like that's definitely the top. And then we're going to add a little bit of white, just to kind of give it a little bit of, you know, pizzazz. And then I'm also going to use Payne's Gray for our hinges. But I am going to use a heavy pressure for that, for the hinge. Okay? Now, we've got, I still think that these, the trim here, I'm going to use this same color that I used on those bricks, this alizarin crimson. These are nice pencils, actually. If you don't have Castle Art pencils, I like how soft they are. They probably need to be sharpened way more than you might like. But, and I know a lot of people have trouble maybe using colored pencils a lot because of pain in their hands, especially when it comes to drawing with them. So you want to have something that's a softer lead, and these are definitely a softer lead. I have a drawing I'm going to be working on soon. I think I might use these, or maybe, yeah, I think I might use these. This actually comes with this little booklet, and They have a whole like series of these pencils, and it actually comes with this that you can actually like step by step about how to draw this particular seascape here. Maybe I'll give it a try. I've never really done the tutorials from the insides of the pencil cases. Has anyone done that? Following a step by step like that. I've never really done them from the pencil cases. Pencil sets, I should say, pencil sets. All right, so now we've got this roof here, and we want that to be a little bit darker, but we don't want it to be so dark that we're like, oh no. So here's Viridian Green, and I am going to use this on its side, and I'm going to start at the top and just kind of alternate my pressure as I'm going along. So it kind of looks like it's a worn little roof, kind of a, I want it to be a little bit lighter in that section, maybe a little bit darker underneath the windows. Nothing fancy, you know? Nothing too fancy schmancy. Here's, I like to call this phthalo green, but most people call it phthalo green. I like to give the piece some credit and just say phthalo. I'm going to give this, these leaves, heavy pressure at where the stem is, like closer to the stem, and then as I go out to the edge, I am letting up on my pressure. And then for the center, I'm using a heavier pressure. So I'm going to do the same thing for this one. And you might want to add another color on top of this also. You could add a yellow if you wanted to. And then I'm going to continue on with this area here. Now, our grass. Let's talk about the grass. I'm going to use this color for the grass, which is kind of weird. The grass would be this mint green color, but why not? So again, heavy pressure at the bottom, and as I go up to the top of the blade, I am lightening up. Lightening up as I go up to the top. I feel like those the flower pots should be like a goldenrod color, or like some sort of golden yellow color. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want them to be completely terracotta. But I don't know. I feel like they should be like a golden color. I'm gonna go with is this Naples? What is this one? This one is cadmium yellow. I'll go with this color first. I'm gonna go with a vertical. So on one side of the pot, imagine if over here in this section right here was the light. So it's shining, so this side of the flower pot would be light. And again here, and we're gonna put dirt inside there. So we're gonna go with, actually let's go with this color, which is called yellow ochre, because we don't want the dirt to be too brown. Want to have some, so, you know, we want to stick with the fantasy that's happening here. The fantasy that is coloring. Check. Again, kind of heavy pressure, and then as I go to the opposite side of the pot, I'm using a lighter pressure. This one I'm just kind of doing the same pressure, just kind of heavy, you know, just a heavy pressure for that one. I am going to take this light yellow color and I'm going to hit the tips of my leaves on these plants, just to kind of give them a little bit of a, you know, snazzy little look to them. Okay, now I've got my birdhouse. I'm going to give him a burnt umber post, and I'm going to do heavy, 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 right? Heavy, heavy pressure here. As I get closer to the bottom of the house, I'm going to lighten it up. Now, what this is going to also do is allow for the next color I'm going to use, which is blue. I have a plan here. To really kind of, you know, have nice contrast next to that color. And I'm going to just kind of darken it in this side, and then the corner, and then up there is a little bit lighter. And then I believe that he needs to have, this bird has requested a red roof, a Venetian red. So I'm going to give it a heavy pressure there. And as I come down on an angle, this bottom corner is going to have a lighter color. Let's give this a dark color here. And now we're on to the ground. So I think that this is all grass down here in my head. And I'm going to use the same color that I used up here, this Venetian green. I'm sorry, Viridian Venetian green. And I'm going to do the same technique as I did on the roof. And what that is going to do is not only create some gradation in color and create some shadows, and I'm going to go right over my blades of grass because it'll actually help them grow. What this is also going to do is it's going to bring our eye to the bottom. And then I'm going to take this color here, which is burnt sienna, and I'm going to go over it so you can kind of see the dirt shining through, or the dirt peeking through. And I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to touch these flower pots with the same thing. See how I kind of went over those? Now we have the sky. We definitely want to have blue skies. We're going to go with ultramarine light on its side again. Now it's going to be a little bit darker, a little bit heavier pressure between all of the objects that are on this page. So between the plants, here in between the birdhouse and the border of the page, heavier pressure. Again, the house. But as we get out into the open area or into the open sky, we want to just kind of be a little bit lighter. This would look good actually if you use pastels on the background. And I'm kind of going in the same direction. And I don't mind going over those plants. And then I'm going to take my, do I have black in here? Prussian blue. Is there really not black in this? Oh, here it is. Goodness. I'm just going to add a little bird here in the sky. He's flying, I don't know where he's flying to. So this is shading with colored pencils. I've used these Castle Art Seascape pencils. This page can also be found in my book, Home Sweet Home. And thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great day.